The disc detached from his chest, floating in the air, spinning. Greg whispered, "Is that supposed to happen?" No. The disc drifted toward us. Greg stepped back. The voice spoke one last time, clearer than before. Almost human, system requires new architect. Greg stared, architect. The disc stopped spinning, hovering between us, silent, waiting. The timer hit double rudder 32. Greg looked at me slowly. So, question, yeah, what happens if we pick it up? The disc pulsed, one soft blue light spreading across the room, and for the first time since we arrived, the apartment became completely still, as if the machine itself was holding its breath, waiting for someone to decide what happens next. The blue disc hovered in the air between us, silent, still, waiting. Greg and I stood frozen, staring at the device as if it might suddenly lunge at us. The room had gone eerily quiet after the chaos of the last few minutes. The humming had faded, the floating metal objects had fallen back to the floor. Even the laptop fan had slowed to a faint whisper. The only movement in the room was the countdown timer on the screen. God below, he raised one eyebrow. Well, he said quietly, "That's new." The disc pulsed softly again, like a heartbeat made of light. I glanced at the laptop. The warning still flashed, red core collapse imminent. Greg looked from the timer to the floating disc. "You ever notice," he said, "that in situations like this, there's always a choice that feels like a terrible idea, and another choice that feels like a worse one?" Yeah, I think we're in one of those. The disc drifted slightly closer to me, not aggressively, more like curiosity. Greg noticed immediately. "Why is it moving toward you?" "I don't know." The timer clicked down, 26. The gray man's body lay sprawled near the chair, now lifeless again. The chest cavity that had once housed the device was open and empty, wires hanging loosely like lifeless vines. Whatever intelligence had been speaking through him seemed to have moved entirely into the disc. Greg scratched his jaw. "Okay, let's think. We have 20-something seconds." "Exactly," he pointed at the disc. "That thing wanted a host." "Yeah. It tried to pick me." "Correct. But now it's just floating there." The disc pulsed again, 23. Greg looked at the laptop again. "Maybe it doesn't need a host now. Then why is the timer still running?" Greg frowned. "Good point." I took a slow breath. Something about the way the disc moved, the way it reacted, it didn't feel random, it felt intentional, almost aware. The timer dropped, 21. Greg snapped his fingers suddenly. "Wait, what? What if the collapse isn't the machine failing? Then what is it?" Greg gestured toward the disc. "What if it's the field?" I looked back at the laptop. The logs flashed rapidly now. Magnetic containment, lattice stability, anchor drift. Then I saw something. "Yeah, look at this." He leaned closer. A diagnostic line scrolled across the screen. "Lattice structure requires active calibration by primary architects." Greg blinked. "Architect." The thing said it needed one. Right. The disc pulsed again, closer now, only a foot away from my chest. Greg glanced at the timer. 17. "You're thinking we become the architect?" "I'm thinking the system doesn't know how to stabilize itself without input." Greg rubbed his temples. "Of course it doesn't." The disc rotated slowly. Blue light swept across the room in gentle arcs. Greg suddenly asked something that neither of us had considered yet. "You ever hear of Project Lattice before?" "Bro." "Me neither." He glanced at the gray man again. "So either this guy invented something world-changing in his apartment, or we just walked into something way bigger." The timer dropped again. Disc moved closer, close enough that I could feel a faint warmth from its surface. Greg Greg pointed at it. Okay, it definitely likes you. I'm noticing that.
Which is weird. Why? You weren't the preferred candidate. I thought about that.
Maybe that changed when the prototype failed. Greg exhaled slowly, so now you're plan B. The time a laptop beeps, 12, the laptop beeps. Another warning, core stability critical. Greg, look between the disk and the timer. You realize there's a very real chance that touching that thing does something irreversible.
Yeah.
And there's also a very real chance that not touching it makes the apartment explode. Also, yeah.
Greg shrugged.
Brain towel slipped. The disc pulsed again, and then the voice returned, clearer than before. Not through the gray man this time, directly from the device. Architect candidate detected.
Greg pointed at me.
Yep, that's you. The voice continued, direct interface required. The timer hit Devil Eye 9. Greg leaned closer to me. If this goes wrong,
Don't say it. Tell my wife I didn't volunteer.
I laughed nervously. The disc covered inches from